Welcome to the Low and Slow podcast.
We're your girls, Crystal and Laken. If you press play today, trust, you made the right decision.
And know whenever you're listening to this, it's exactly the right time.
We invite you to pull up a seat to the conversation, get curious about your current perspective,
and lean in for the opportunity to see yourself in another woman's story.
We created That Girl Magic because we've been where you are.
Here, the talk is real and the breath is steady.
Let's get into your next mindset shift.
Welcome back to another episode of the Low and Slow podcast. Happy New Year, guys. This is an exciting episode because we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary. Lake.
Woo! We made it.
We made it, yes. So there's been a lot that has happened. We got through the holidays. There's Christmas, there's New Year's. But before we got to celebrating those holidays, we celebrated our 1-year anniversary on the 19th of December. And it was really exciting just because there's been so much newness in the last year. So we decided to do this episode today to share with you guys, the magic the first year of magic that Girl Magic has created. And, we want to take you through it to celebrate our wins with us. This is something that we do with our clients, right? And, it just feels good to be able to also reflect on the year you've had personally and celebrate them together.
Yeah, we had a lot happen this year. It's funny because the podcast didn't come out until obviously later in the year, but that was one of the big things that we wanted to do and that we executed on, right? Starting the podcast. We launched our first women's retreat this year, which we'll touch on. We were able to hire our first coach, right? Outside of just the two of us. And we've been able to help over 300 women. So it's been, a huge wins that we are so excited about and that we're so happy to share. And yeah, let's get into them.
Yeah, let's get into them. So let's just start with taking the jump of starting TGM last December. So we both had been obviously coaching beforehand, but it was joining forces of okay, we're both doing this in our own way now. And what could this look like to do it our way? Which is for me, when I look back on that, I'm just damn, yeah, we hear it all the time, start and you keep going. And it's very easy. I mean, it's not very easy. It's very easy to be overwhelmed by doing all the things, right? But the fact that we knew this is something that we wanted to do and we didn't have, the yellow brick road in front of us, but we knew just by joining together that we were going to figure it out and we were going to put the systems in place and put the structure in place and be able to come in and do the things. So for me, from the very start, I'm just making the decision, deciding and, furthering what you had been doing, furthering what I had been doing, and then coming up with the brand of branding yourself. It's a huge deal. So for what was that like for you making that decision?
I feel like it was a route that I had already identified and I was pretty adamant on making it happen. Branding honestly was the hardest part. For me, it's the infrastructure, the systems, the act, the doing, right? Is okay, just making it happen is that's the stuff that to me it's inevitable. Okay, it's going to happen, right? It's okay, well, how do we decide what we're going to name it and putting together the website and getting putting it out there to the world, right? To me, if it was if it was just me, it would be oh, well, I would just be doing it. And probably only people that would know about it would just be the people that I was interacting with directly. You know what I mean? And it would just have to be a word of mouth situation because that's just how I roll. So that's part of the reason why we joined forces, right? Is to make sure that we could make the most of it. And for me, some of the bigger things things that felt like a growing edge were announcing, right, to the world that this was like something new that was coming out, as opposed to just keeping my head to the grindstone and being like, yeah, I'm just doing the thing. And people like the whole, like, if you build it, they will come. No, it doesn't work like that. But
Yeah, you got to tell them that you're there, right? You got to like,
yeah.
I think, and that's why I wanted to start there, because there's a, like we say it all the time, there's a reason we joined together, because it's like this nice seesaw that we both are on together. And the very things that that we're both good at, we are needed in the business. Branding, that, there's branding yourself, but then when you're creating a brand together, that was the biggest thing. That was like, okay, yeah, what do we want to be known for? What's our mission, right? What are we doing with this work, and what kind of impact do we want to create? And I think that's what, like, looking back, was just like it pushed us into figuring out, like, that was the start of it. It pushed us into figuring out a lot of other things. And then, that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm good at that. I could do this all day, and I need the systems. I need the infrastructure. I need the, the background that you had. And, I would say
it's easy to keep that as the keystone, right? It's like, that was the easy part. It was clear. The mission was clear of like, what problem are we looking to solve? Who are we looking to help? What are the things that we've been seeing the most in our individual practice that, we can come together in order to create a bigger impact and make sure that we can access and be an available resource to more and more women. And it was like this idea of the stories that were holding women back in their day-to-day lives, the stuff that was in like an infection, like the self-doubt infection, right? Of like just like spreading and allowing it to run rampant, and collecting all this negative evidence against yourself, where we saw what we could do to fight that and to heal it. And that's essentially the root that everything sprang from. And it's very easy to maintain momentum when there's a common ground that's like, okay, this is what's most important.
Yeah. Yeah. And having our own personal journeys with this really was the foundation for that, because like we would see it all the time, and we've experienced it ourselves. And, when we talked about this, on the very first episode of like creating the table, like the brand itself is the podcast is an extension of the brand, and the table that we were creating, just we wanted to be able to create something where women could see themselves in another woman's story, because there's something that they could relate there on. There's something to know that they weren't in it alone, something to know that they this didn't have to be their reality or their default, and if they wanted to change it, that if they were up for doing that, that we were going to be available to help them do that. So yeah, the first iteration, it's wild to look back just to be like, dang, it's already been a year. But then, how much came from that one decision. We talk about all the time that we can say all these things, and when we talk about New Year's and affirmations and, resolutions and all this stuff, we can say all of this stuff, but then where is the action that you want to take, right? So, because we took action, because we made the decision, then these things, I think I want to touch on that, for a second, a little bit heavily, because so many times and I know this was, even with the podcast, that was a huge win for me this last year of like, okay, we're going to do the podcast. Like I sent you an email today, like 500 downloads. Like, that's so exciting. And, I had been saying for a long time, like, I want to do a podcast. And, when even if you don't have everything figured out, just being able to like speak it into existence. Yeah, that's the first step. But then it's like, all right, well, if you want to do a podcast, then let's look into all these other pieces that have to happen in order to do the podcast. And so just like looking back, it's like the podcast came from that. The retreat came from that. Being able to partner with Rejuvenating Health, right? That there's so many things that came from that one decision to start, right? To start and then keep
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
even if you didn't have it all mapped out.
That's definitely something that, like, personally for me, I've been working on in my own entrepreneurial journey. I used to want to wait until everything was perfect to do anything. And that held me back from a lot of things or making fast progress. Like, it was things which were still going to happen. It was just significantly delayed, not where I would miss out on opportunities because I would tell myself that it had to look like XYZ, or I had to anticipate all the potential outcomes, or I had to, essentially it was all control, right? I had to control what was going to come out of it, as opposed to just do it and you can learn as you go. It's good if you fuck up because then you can fix it as you go if you want to, or you can make changes or you can adapt. And so that was something that I was very intentional about with this go around in this business. Was I'm going to push myself to just do it uncertain, do it unprepared, sometimes do it scared, do it when you don't have control, and allow yourself to learn as you go, and teach yourself and be available to learn from others. And that's been something that is difficult for me. It doesn't, it's like it's a growing edge. It strains me. It takes me outside of my comfort zone, but I'm so glad that I've been doing it that way. And that's something that's a personal win of mine, where, like, I'm really proud of doing that and showing up in that way, because that's not my default by any means.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I very much relate on that. If anything, you reflect that back to me a lot of, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. And, I think, I could say that's a big personal one of mine too. I think what was so intriguing to me about mindset work is, like, once I got a taste of this for myself, then it was like getting in the reps and helping other people with it. And, I was doing the thing, but I didn't have everything in place until we then created the business. And it's nice to be able to then just come in and, yeah, if you're, however you're showing up that day, like, doing it anyway. That's huge. That is how I felt like with the podcast, because I did want it to be perfect and this, and, because you have that vision for so long of, like, what you want it to be like. Like, I love talking and I love just rapping about stuff, and I love just being able to, create something where someone can, we can be in your back pocket. It's like this, have your girlfriends in your back pocket, and we're talking about the very real conversations that you may or may not be having in your life. And so it was just, I think it's like, the main point I'm trying to make is, like, when something's just really important to you, it's like, yeah, you want to do a good job. You want to put it all together, and, taking action, even if you don't have it all figured out, is like, that's been the thing that's gotten us here. So yeah, I'm very proud of that too.
Well, it's so relatable. Like, how many people talk about doing things for a really long time because it feels good to dream, and it is good to dream, right? And it's like, I want to do all these things, but they're either afraid, or they need it to be a certain, or they tell themselves that it needs to be a certain way, or, like, all they essentially put hurdles in front of them.
Yeah.
And then before you know it,
beliefs.
time keeps going, whether you're taking the action or not. And then they look, before you know, it's like a year's gone by. And it's like, oh, I didn't do that thing I said I was going to do. And that's when I was reflecting on how I'd done things in the past. That was something that would frequently happen to me, where it's like, oh, I've been saying I'm going to do this thing for how long? And I could have done it not ideal and messy and, grown it as I went. And I would be further than I would be right now because I'm trying to get it perfect.
Yeah.
And so I think that's very relatable. I think a lot of people can understand that feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like all those, and like you said, the barriers. It's like, oh, when did we stop dreaming, like, when we were kids? It's like, I'm gonna be this, and it's like that it goes away as we get older, right? But then we can say it, and then, well, we're not really actually taking steps to do that. And then when we don't, it's like, oh my God, how are we speaking to ourselves? That's not helping us get there any further. So it's like those points of reflection to just be like I had been saying, I want to start a podcast since 2022, 2023. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
23, 23. And so, and okay, well, I put it out there and then look, 2025, it happened, but I actually took action on it happening. And I was resistant at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I own that. But I know that if I didn't ever speak it into existence in those years prior, where it's like those barriers that you're talking about. Yeah, there were barriers that I put in front of myself in order to do that. And then it's like now you've done that, I'm sure people can relate to this. It's like when you've taken action on something, it's like, oh, it actually wasn't that bad. Right.
Right.
But it was
Yeah.
like all the hype and the build up beforehand that creates the anxiety and that creates the, the turmoil or that like, all those all of the shitty beliefs that you're feeding your reticular activating system to start looking for evidence for, essentially.
The reality is almost never as bad as the worst case scenario that we spin in our head.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking back on the last year, what is something that you believe about yourself now that wasn't available to you a year ago before we started the business?
That's a good question, Lake. See, we always be asking good questions. That wasn't available. I like the way you put that because if I'm honest, until you think about that and like let that digest, it's like, oh, it's all available until you actually recognize that it is. And I would say for me, being able to recognize the capacity that I would have in order to be able to do all the things, that wasn't available then. But then when I told myself differently, like, okay, well, whether it's available or not, like you're still doing it. And that capacity grew and it stretched me. And, yeah, I would say capacity. Did I answer the question? Yeah, I did. What about you?
Your capacity to like hold multiple things.
Capacity. Yeah, capacity to hold multiple things, or I guess capacity to step out of my own way. Step out of my own way to be able to hold all the things, to be able to do the thing, to be able to stop essentially holding myself back.
Mm-hmm. What would that look like before?
I would say probably like whatever was happening at the time, that's the reason why I couldn't do the thing. Right? It's like I'm not ready yet because I haven't, gotten to this point with there. Like I haven't processed this, or I think for me personally, there was a lot of this work that was very personal to me. So it was, how can I then start to use my very real raw stories and be able to get to a place with them where I could then create something out of that. And I think that was the thing that was holding me back, is like I was still stuck in a lot of my own stories. So then that would be the reason why then, okay, well, I'm not going to take action here, or I'm going to then fill it with something else so that there's no space or capacity to actually take action here. Because I had another obligation there, just being in your own way.
Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. Being in your own way. We're on it. I mean, when we think about this last year, it almost doesn't feel like a year. It feels, for me, at least for me, it feels like there's been 3 years in one, honestly. I mean, I'm coming up January, I'll finish my Saturn return, and holy hell.
I think it feels shorter than a year.
Well, no, I think it feels shorter than a year, but there's been a lot that's been wrapped up to it. It's like this, it's kind of like what we were saying of like the anticipation. Those 3 years prior to this last year for me was a lot of like anticipation. And then this year was like the year we did something from all of that. So yeah. What about you?
Something that I believe about myself now, or a belief that is available to me now, is that I don't have to have all the answers all the time. Historically, and especially when I started this work, whether it was being applied on me or not by any external force, most often it was being applied by myself. I would put this pressure, or I felt this pressure that I had to have answers in my sessions, right? I had to be able to solve problems for my clients, or I had to have, all the go tos or the advice. And it didn't allow for me to be able to handle sessions the way that I do now. It didn't allow for me to be able to hold space, however you want to see that, for the women that I do now. And it was having a compound effect on me in the way that I process stress and um, input or traumas or whatever it is, right? Like, am I allowing their stories to impact mine and the way that I see myself and the way that I judge myself as a coach, right? And how I'm showing up, or as a teacher, as a mentor, however you want to put it. And being able, and again, it all comes down to reps. Like, it's almost always everything comes down to reps, where it's like honing that skill and being aware of it and understanding what I was working against and what was working for me, and going outside of my comfort zone in that, right? Like understanding, oh, when I remain curious and put my ego to the side, honestly, and put what the control or the desired outcome that I have to the side, I can show up so much better for these women. And so believing that I can facilitate really, really clean coaching now in a place where I have no desire to control the outcome of the session,
unattached,
is something that wasn't available to me before, that I'm very proud of.
That's beautiful. That's very nice. Do you think, just with the last year, you've done so many different programs and such, like further education, do you think that has attributed to that?
100%. I'm definitely a proponent of mentorship. I think that that's huge. I'm always going to be somebody that, if somebody's broken some shit and they know how to fix it, I'm going to be like, hey, show me how you fix that, instead of me trying to piece it together, like reverse engineer it. Right. So I'm always going to seek out continued education and mentorship. And I'm also really nerdy, so I like to nerd out on the stuff that I'm passionate about, that is important to me, and that makes a difference.
So that was something that wasn't available before? Like, if we could choose one word, so would yours be unattached, or would you choose something else?
Yeah, I would say unattached. What I prefer, I think, would be releasing control.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I asked one
like
word.
Curiosity over control, essentially.
Okay. I'm gonna come back to mine, and I said capacity at first, but I think I kind of want to edit what I said a little bit, of like, just to give further context. Through this work, you may come up against, you will come up against other stories that, could be triggering to yours, right? Or like being able to, be that third party. And yes, you have your own story, but then you're witnessing someone else in theirs. And that's why I said capacity, but I think it's really belief in my capacity. Because being stuck in those stories for so long didn't allow for me to even touch any of that work, which I know that is so impactful, because I've been through that myself. So I think, in this last year, I'm most proud of believing that having deep belief that it's like, okay, well, these happened, and I know that I can help women with this. And it's almost like the conviction. Maybe it's not capacity, it's conviction. And it's interesting. I always talk about this when we ask clients of like, where are you feeling this most specifically within the body or it's around your chakras, like anything in the throat. It's wanting to be expressed. It makes sense. Not taking so long with the podcast. Well, it's wanting to be expressed and like, can you share it? Can you allow people to see you raw, real, vulnerable? And,
Yeah.
yeah. So conviction. And just, I'm like,
Okay.
everyone has like words of the year, but I mean, nobody ever asks, can you reflect on your last year and choose one word of what that was? You always choose a word for the new year.
Yeah.
So, okay. Very nice. Let's talk about the retreat.
Yeah.
So,
That's huge. So our first women's retreat that we are going to host in Costa Rica in June of 2026, which we are now in, which is crazy.
wild.
So in about 6 months, we are so excited for that. It is going to be an amazing container. We are not holding anything back. That is something I will say is like, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right. We're going to do it all the way. So
Full
it will
send.
be, you will feel very held. We want everybody that's coming to make sure that they feel extremely cared for. That's something that was really, really important to us. We want it in an environment that's conducive to that. The location that we selected, the workshops that we're doing, the additional local facilitators that are coming in, the activities, the nature experiences, all of it is extremely particularly curated in order to provide the vibe, as you would say, that we're looking to give. So that's a huge win, and I can't wait to celebrate that win in
I
real
know.
time.
I know. I mean, we're talking about it and I feel like it's tomorrow, but it is, first of all, deciding to do it and then, yes, full send of like in another country. Like, bet if in a small container of these women, like we know what we want to deliver on. And I think for the retreat, it's being able to see that vision and know that because the players that we have in place, like all of us, me, Laura, like we're going to execute. And I'm very excited to celebrate that on the other side. And even, celebrating like as the women are coming in who are coming into the retreat, it's like it's aligned. It's like, fuck, we created this exactly for you. And of course you're coming in because this was meant for you. It's like this, if I could think about this last year, it's been us turning on a lot of different lights for people to see that like, hey, we're open kind of thing. Like, hey, we're a lighthouse. We're able to help and lead you and all the things. And it just feels really cool to have multiple lights on in different areas that, women be like, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been most challenging for you this first year?
What's been most challenging for me this last year was, this year definitely, it felt short, but like I said, it felt like 3 years rolled all into one. And so I think for me personally or for business wise,
Either.
I would say for me personally, it's been separating, like really, really being able to allow myself to be more of the authority of the facilitator, right? Like, yes, I could do all these things, especially in other jobs and stuff I've had before, but then to really own, like, this is my brand, my business, my impact. And I think, I was doing that with myself before. So separating, being able to do this now for other women. And it's like, oh, I've been waiting for this. Right. But then separating, getting out of like, oh, you're just doing this for you. And now actually like immersing myself in being the authority. That's what I would say. I mean, I don't know if I guess like most challenging, but most stretching, which is like, I've been ready for it. And so it was a challenge to like get out of that. Like, you don't need to keep feeling like, oh, you can only coach yourself with this. Like you're ready. You can do something with this now. You're ready to expand.
Yeah.
What about you? What's been most challenging for you this last year, either business or personal?
It applies to both, but for me, and this will be most likely my ongoing challenge is just softness over speed,
Mm-hmm.
learning to slow down when I need it or really before I need it.
That part.
And recognizing that I don't have to do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like if
Or that you can actually have fun with it's your business, your brand.
yeah. Yeah. And recognizing that a lot of times I will put more on myself than what I don't know, that I could say like what is necessary, but I struggle with that. Like part of me,
Like, what's the
really
healthy
enjoys the
pressure?
pressure, and that's my journey of like that, finding that sweet spot, right? Of
Yeah.
like, where can I allow it to help me continue to thrive and continue to grow and work outside of my comfort zone, but also stay whole and protect my peace and not allow it to be a diminishing gain situation, right? It's like it's similar to the way I used to train. It's like I could go all out for a lot of volume throughout the week, but my recovery is going to be in the shitter, right? Or can I find the sweet spot of like, okay, well, what's the minimum viable process that's going to allow me to continue to accelerate as opposed to jump, fall off,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like what actually feels good. So that's my journey. That's my ongoing challenge.
I think too, just being able to also see each other in our own journeys, and know, like, I knew coming into this, like, that's why like the partnership is, it was effortless. It was magic because we both had like we play to each other's strengths and weaknesses, and not weakness in a bad way, but like we figure it out, right? And I think that was something that was very important to me. That is like, I had never owned my own business before, right? Like, yes, I had a business with Arbonne, but this was something that like I owned now. And I think being able to know that building it, like I knew how I worked before, which got me the results that I, very quickly, of like pushing against past my needs, right? And, hustling and all this. And like, yes, all of that is important. And there's a time and a place for that. And I think it's so important where it's like, in something that you are building, especially when it comes to impact, especially when it comes to momentum, or, just this mission, this brand that we've created. I didn't want it to be at the cost of, you know what I mean? Like, it's like where we started at. If we could reflect back in this last year, like, yes, there's, things need to get done. And it's like, just like when we tell clients, like, is it going to be at the cost of us? Right? Like, it's like, I want to build it in a way where it's sustainable, and we're building it to last. Like, we're building a solid foundation. Like, if anything, a big win I want to celebrate, on the pod publicly together, is that like we're building the foundation that I've always wanted in what coaching can look like for women, and specifically with women. Like, we're building the foundation for a lot of these women, and to be able to build it for ourselves, and then be able to be a part of their story when they're building their foundation. Like, that's fucking special. That's really special.
Yeah. And going into that, and it's hard because, there's been so many over the course of the last year, but is there a particular client journey that stands out to you over the last year?
Yeah. Yeah, a couple. One,
You want to share?
yeah. I'm
Anonymously, of
getting
course.
the words. One in particular that, just from the start, like, I've said this before, I'm very into it. Like, I'm very, when the energy's there. with someone, where you connect with a client, and where you can, where you're just able to, it's effortless, and there's, the walls are down, and you just immediately connect. And to be able to see her in every piece of what she brought to the table, to show up, to just be so like vulnerable, and to just be, to own every piece of her story, and then to be able to be led through that. And for her now to, even after what, a year almost of working together, like the way she speaks about herself now is just like, oh my God, like, fuck yes. Like that one particular, it's like I'm having a hard time even finding the words over it, because to see her, to be able to celebrate herself and celebrate her wins, like that is the biggest win for me. But then also, like, just to know that, yeah, like that I've impacted her, right? And I think that feels kind of like weird even to say out loud. But I always do reflect it back to my clients of like, like, you're the magic, like you did that, right? Like, I'm here as the witness. I'm here to, like, guide you, right? But it's like, you showed up and you did the work. So I think that client in particular, I'm like, I don't know. I can't, I'm going to say it, and then I'm like, can I do it anonymously? It's like, I'm thinking, how do I even put this anonymously?
Well, just like, what do you think her shift was?
Her shift was really being able to shed of all the boxes and narratives and stories that she put herself in from, being in recovery, what recovery looked like, right? And what, having these different experiences that once, shaped who she was, because she had so many labels about what that was. Like, she really changed. She rewrote the narrative of of herself. She rewrote what it meant to, the meanings that she was telling herself about herself. And so to be able to see her do that in every session, and just to be able to, own, like, midway of us working together, she's 13 years sober, and it's in a vacation in Mexico that's all inclusive, and like, like, so much all around her. But for her to be able to just to be genuinely, like, be able to celebrate herself in that, and be able to know that, like, oh my goodness, like, I really started with this, and then now she's even able to help other people, like, within, through her church, and like, it's just been
that ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly, the ripple effect. I'm like lost for words of speaking about her, because she is, she's just an incredible human. And it's like, this is where, like, this work gets very, it's impactful, and it's emotional, when I see clients in that way, because it's like you once you started to do this, it's like, if you could just see the lens that, like, if you could just bar the glasses, right? And then you be able to start to see yourself that way, like, fuck, like, geez, like, that, it's just amazing. And she's a pleasure to work with, and it's just like the best human. She's literally sunshine in human form. And I'm just, to be able to witness her journey has, definitely impacted me, like, I think that's also the biggest thing is like, okay, yeah, you had impact there, and you were able to, like, help her shift out of those stories, out of those narratives, but she's impacted you too. And that's special.
I think that's such a big piece of this work that, until you're in the coach's seat, it's hard to understand, but it's like, I heal little parts of myself in the ways that I help these women heal parts of themselves.
Yes.
And I'm able to gain perspective on my own lived experiences through this work of helping women gain additional or different or altered perspectives on their stories, right? It's like, every time I help a woman find grace for her mother, or work through childhood trauma, or work through, something really difficult in a relationship. It's like, yeah, sometimes some shit will come out of my mouth. Like, I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
like, I needed to hear that.
Yeah. Facts.
And so being able to be a conduit for that is such a blessing.
Yeah.
And I think for me, this client's journey is very synonymous with a lot of women that we work with. And it particularly stands out to me just because of the way that it's manifested for her. And it's like going from um, a state of almost being afraid to make any decision for herself, right? Like all that self doubt, paralyzing self doubt. Like I literally can't move forward in the things that are important to me in my life because I question everything that comes through my head. To we are like embodying audacity, where it's like not only now do I trust myself to make decisions, but I trust myself to start to take risks, right? And instead of viewing the things that have happened to me as uh, just that, things that have happened to me, or that I am a symptom of or a byproduct of, right? It's like I go from survival mode of I'm just a soldier who's surviving this war that is my life, right? If that's the narrative, to no, I get to decide what the outcome of the battle looks like, whether I can control all the other things at play or not. It's like I get to decide how I show up and how I operate, and I get to make decisions that are best for my strategy and for what I need to do and the direction that I need to go in. And so just to see her be able to apply that in real time to choices in her life that are getting her to the things that she, you know, when we first started working together, were only a dream or on a vision board, is such a beautiful thing. And like I said, it's also reminds me of what is possible when I do the same.
Yeah.
And so that in that way, this work is such a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's like choosing a client. It's like you have that one client in your head, right? But then, like you said, like pulling out these themes where, I believe no client works with me by accident. Like, yes, yeah. It's random how that happens. But through whatever it is, I can see a version of myself in a lot of the clients I work with. And, being able to, like, when you do work with someone for so long, and to be able to have them shift out of the boxes, out of the stories they've been telling themselves is yeah, it also helps you rewrite yours too, because you're writing it in real time, right? Like that's, I think the biggest thing is, like, with a lot of these women is, they're zoomed in on whatever timeline that they're on, but if they could just zoom out, it's like, oh shit, like I actually did all of this. And
yeah,
it's like, even when you said I started here, like the crippling, like I can't make a decision, and then now I'm taking risks, like that's huge, right? Even in my client's scenario, like, I'm was once in recovery, right? And struggling there, right? And then now I'm being able to, I'm expanding. I'm doing something within my church based off my story. Like I'm building my empire essentially. Like I'm everything that was essentially torn down was for a reason, then to be rebuilt somewhere else.
Well, it's like everything that was keeping me small. Right now I can take ownership of, and I can use that to help others.
Yeah. And build it back in a totally different way. Using
my story for me and for other people, as opposed to letting my story dictate that what I'm not capable of or what is not available to me.
Facts. And I very, very much resonate with that, right? Like that's where I was saying earlier, like the capacity, because it's like I'm using my story. Yes, these things are a part of my story, and I'm using them, not to quote Wicked, but for good, right? I'm using them in a way that is impactful, and that you're redefining what it means about you to have taken ownership over what that looks like, over what those stories or over what your story is and what that looks like. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So in closing, who do we want to express gratitude
That
for?
is nice. Yes. Who do we want to express gratitude for? Do we choose one? Do you have to choose one person?
No, not just one. This is
Oh, I'm like,
you
what?
can
We celebrating the
close out your
wins.
your acceptance speech,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
Okay. Hold on.
for me
I
it's
want to
like
thank the Academy.
um my mentors, Mark England with Enlifted and Lauren of Love were two big teachers for me this past year, and in business and in my craft, and bettering myself, my own personal development. My family, my close friends, the people that have shown up to support us and shout our name from the rooftops and say, like, this is important, you have to check it out, and proponents of that, people that we've used to help us with the branding and the all of the components, and you.
Easy, just throw that one in there. And me. Yeah, I want to quote Snoop Dogg. What does he say?
I like to thank me.
Yeah, first things first, I'd like to thank me. I would, and that's a huge win for me to be able to thank myself. Like, yeah, I thank you. And I think I thank mentors, friends, family, yes. But not to be cheesy, I thank you. I thank my business partner. I thank my best friend for believing that it doesn't matter what it is, that we could do whatever, especially together, and that this is only the start. I think I thank the universe for aligning all the things that it has to make this possible. And I'm trying to think of like one person in particular that I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank one of our friends, one of our dear, dear friends. Her name is Jenny Patton. She's a new mom. And when I was going through this, like the thick of it and lifted, like the thick of this work, there was the amount of like support and just like the amount of support and the amount of like belief and faith that she like instilled in me once this all started to pop off. I'm like, it would not feel right to not be able to thank her in that, because she may or may not know it, but it was very much appreciated during that time, because I was having a rough time with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think thanking her publicly is necessary. And I'm just trying to think of like someone in particular. Yeah, like there's so many people we can thank. Thanks, shout out to our producer Shlomo.
Yeah, Shlomo, thank you. Thank you, because I don't want to be doing what you're doing, man.
No,
I appreciate you so
yes,
much.
we so appreciate you. Well, this was fun. We, when we thought about doing this episode, it's like we wanted just to be able to come on here and, share what that first year of magic looked like and what it gets to look like, and what, we've created, what it gets to look like, and what it can look like when you set the foundation for the thing to actually grow, right? And you get for watering the flowers, right? Watering the soil and being able to know that if we want things to keep growing, we got to celebrate what we've done thus far. So, TGM turns 1 and it's been a year, and we're very excited for what this next year will look like. It's popped off.
Yes.
We're here. We're very excited for the retreat, and we're excited to have you guys. 500 downloads, like this is awesome. November 5th, we dropped this shit and already 500 downloads. So we're celebrating that.
We've only just begun. Yes, we are very, very excited. So,
we need to thank Rejuvenating Health as well.
Yes, Lindsay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And we're really looking forward to the next year. I think it's always important to reflect on where you've been when you're looking at where you're going. And yeah. If you are looking to support us additionally, please drop 5 stars. It would mean the world to us.
Yeah.
And make sure you hit us up to request a reframe.
Yes, hit us up to request a reframe. You can now drop it in at the link in our bio, where if there is something that you are continuing to think about and you want to make a change in that, or you want a different perspective, holla at your homegirls. We'll hit you with the reframe, and we'll read. This is anonymous. You submit your dilemma, and we take it from there and break it down on a future episode. So we're excited to do that in the new year.
Yes.
And be sure to share this episode, share the podcast, subscribe. If you enjoy watching us on YouTube, definitely subscribe there, because that is a goal. We didn't even talk about goals for 2026. We're going to do that in another episode, but we would like to get our YouTube subscribers up. So if you got YouTube, go hit that follow button or subscribe button. And I think that's all.
Yes.
That's a wrap. Year one in the magic. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Deuces.
Appreciate you. When was the last time you felt truly clear and at peace?
Maybe you've been asking yourself, why can't I just feel peace?
Most of us don't just need another escape. Vacation is great and all, but what we really need is integration.
When's the last time you gave yourself permission to play? As adults, we don't do that enough. And this is to be messy, curious, maybe even a little wild, like the little girl you used to be. She's still here. She's just waiting for you to say it's safe to come out again.
That's why we created Peace, Play, Love. For 7 days in the Costa Rican jungle, luxury meets real life with story work, somatic practices, and nervous system tools that help you not just reset here, but take that peace home with you.
I've been bringing women to Costa Rica for years because this land and the people have been a part of my own healing journey. And all of us have left transformed for the better.
At Peace, Play, Love, we'll slow down together, we'll breathe, we'll meet the guilt, the shame, the exhaustion, and learn how to alchemize them into permission, into softness, into peace that you can actually feel in your body.
This retreat is deeper than a pause. We're not just unplugging you, we are rewiring you.
I've witnessed these women laugh from the depths of their souls, feel reconnected to who they truly are, tear up from actually taking in a sunset, and watching as their shame, their stress, and fears all float off into the great beyond.
You'll map your next season with clarity and leave with insight to keep your nervous system regulated and your choices aligned long after you return. We keep it small on purpose, just 9 women, each supported through high-touch coaching, sisterhood, and real community.
The women who come, they're do-it-allers. They show up no matter what. They climb the mountain with the weight of the world on their back and a smile on their face, because that's just what they do. But they're looking at this next chapter of their life, and they know that they don't want it to feel like the last 5 did.
You don't have to hold it all anymore. You don't have to keep proving you're okay. This retreat is your safe place to land, and it's your invitation to play again.
There's something magical in this land that helps you find the magic in you. The light turns on, the weight lightens, and from there, you decide what the next chapter will be and who you will be inside of that on your terms. This is the magic of saying yes to you.
If you're craving calm and clarity that sticks, this is your invitation to join us in Costa Rica in June. Come exhale with us and remember who you are beneath the noise.